Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're looking at the Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman. And a book that's been around for a while but keeps coming up in conversations about self-education and business fundamentals. The premise is ambitious, that you can get the core of what matters in business without spending 2 years and a significant amount of money on a formal MBA. In this video, we'll go through what the book actually covers, where it genuinely delivers, and where I think it's worth being a bit more critical. Let's get into it. Kaufman wasn't an academic. He was a manager at Procter & Gamble who started noticing that the people around him with MBAs weren't necessarily better at their jobs. They just had a shared vocabulary and a structured way of thinking about business problems. That observation sent him down a rabbit hole of reading hundreds of books across business, psychology, economics, and systems thinking, looking for the patterns that actually showed up consistently across successful companies. The Personal MBA is his attempt to distill those patterns into a single, accessible volume. The book doesn't claim to replace everything a formal degree offers: the network, the credentials, the structured environment. What it does claim is that the core mental models driving business success are learnable on your own if you know where to look. The foundation of the book is what Kaufman calls the five-part business engine. His argument that every business, regardless of size or industry, runs on exactly five interdependent functions. The first is value creation. Are you solving a problem people actually care about enough to pay for? The second is marketing. Are you reaching the right people and making them aware you exist? The third is sales. Can you convert that awareness into actual transactions? The fourth is value delivery. Are you delivering what you promised consistently and well enough that people come back? And the fifth is finance. Are you bringing in more than you're spending? What I like about this framework is how unromantic it is. A lot of business content spends a lot of time on vision, culture, and differentiation, which all matter. But Kaufman starts with the basics. If any one of these five things is broken, the business doesn't work. Full stop. It's a useful diagnostic tool precisely because it's so simple. He also has an interesting section on why people buy: four core human drives that he argues underpin most purchase decisions: the drive to acquire, to bond with others, to learn, and to defend what's already theirs. The practical takeaway is that the more of these drives your product or service connects with, the stronger the pull. A premium service that offers both status and community, for example, is tapping into two of those simultaneously, which is generally more powerful than addressing just one. The section on personal productivity is less expected in a business book, but actually one of the more grounded parts. Kaufman introduces the idea of the most important task, identifying the one or two things each day that genuinely move the needle, rather than filling time with activity that feels productive but isn't. He also covers the concept of working with your natural energy cycles rather than against them, which is backed by a reasonable amount of research on cognitive performance. It's practical, unglamorous advice, and it works. The most immediately useful thing you can do with this book is run your current project or business through the five-part framework and honestly identify where the bottleneck is. Most people have a sense that something isn't working, but they misdiagnose it. A business with a great product and low revenue usually has a marketing or sales problem, not a product problem. A business with strong sales but unhappy customers usually has a value delivery problem. The framework gives you a simple way to locate the friction before you start throwing effort at the wrong thing. Kaufman also emphasizes the idea of meeting and then exceeding expectations, not through grand gestures, but through consistency and small details. His point is that loyalty is built in the delivery phase, not the sales phase. Getting someone to buy once is a marketing job. Getting them to come back and tell others is an operational one. Now, the honest part. The book's biggest weakness is also partly what makes it appealing. It covers an enormous amount of ground. Business, psychology, systems thinking, productivity, negotiation, it's all in there. But the depth on any individual topic is necessarily limited. If you're already familiar with the fundamentals of marketing, or you've read widely on decision-making or behavioral economics, large sections of this book will feel like a surface-level recap of things you already know. The anti-MBA framing also gets a bit overstated. Kaufman makes a reasonable point that formal credentials don't automatically translate to business competence. But the claim that the Personal MBA is a genuine substitute for an MBA is harder to defend. The book covers concepts. A formal program also provides structured feedback, real world case analysis, a professional network, and credentials that still matter in certain contexts. Those aren't the same thing. There's also a selection bias in the examples he uses. Like most business books, the companies referenced tend to be the ones that succeeded, which makes it easy to reverse engineer principles from their decisions. The same decisions made by companies that failed would look like mistakes in hindsight. That doesn't mean the principles are wrong, but it does mean they should be held a bit more loosely than the book sometimes suggests. With all that said, The Personal MBA is a genuinely useful book, particularly if you're earlier in your business education and want a broad, coherent map of how the different pieces fit together. The five-part framework alone is worth the read. It's simple enough to remember and apply, and honest enough to be actually useful as a diagnostic tool rather than just a conceptual model. If you're already well read in business, you'll probably find it covers familiar ground. But if you want a single, accessible starting point, that treats business as a practical discipline rather than an academic one. It's a solid choice. Hope this gave you a clear and honest picture of what the book is about. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description along with a few other reads I'd recommend in the same space. And if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe the channel. See you in the next one.